Silksong cured my depression. Okay, not like, really, but to its credit, I am only being mildly facetious. So, let's get the obvious out of the way first. I blink now. I figured, since I'd already been gone for so long, I might as well go the extra mile and give myself a makeover instead of just cutting up and rigging my old sprites to work as a PNG tuber. Cross your fingers this works as intended, and makes editing a whole lot easier for me in the future. Anyway, you might have noticed I kind of vanished for a bit. Which is a good way of putting it, actually, because for well over a year at this point, the only places on the internet I've touched have been my private YouTube account and AO3. Otherwise, I've been too busy trying to drag myself through the next week with something resembling personal hygiene intact, and sleeping for 3/4 of the day. I know this has been said before and will be said again, but that's the really shit part of depression, you know? You just stop caring. The things that used to bring you joy no longer do, even on the off chance you have the energy to do them. I haven't baked, I haven't been on a walk in nature, I hadn't drawn until I made this. I haven't made any videos in so goddamn long that now that I'm starting to crawl out of it, it kind of feels like someone took a knife to my soul and hacked off a massive chunk of it. For a while, I didn't even write, and if you're up on my lore, you know that's one of the things that's easiest for me. Mostly, I kind of just read my old writing, looked at my art. There was something comforting in looking at stuff I had made when I felt better. Proof that I was capable of something. I don't know. I could barely bear to look at my videos, but that's mostly because I felt guilty for not working on the one that's been sitting in my editing software for an entire year at this point. Actually, almost to the day, as of me writing this script, which is either even more depressing or weirdly poetic. And I literally can't afford more depression at this point, so weird universal poetry and symbolism it is. There was a good chunk of time when I barely got out of bed at all. I only recently managed to start somewhat regularly getting up to move from my bedroom to my study. I don't actually know how much of this is regular garden variety depression and how much is my chronically ill body deciding I had had too good of a run for too long and that it was time to fall apart beneath me. I mean, I don't have stellar energy reserves even on a good day, so what the hell do I know, really? Thankfully, I am incredibly privileged in the fact that I have a solid safety net in the shape of my family, so I didn't have to worry about food or shelter or medication, while I was also actively falling apart. I also live in a country that at least attempts not to bleed its people dry, for daring to falter and be human every once in a while. If that hadn't been the case, yeah, that wouldn't have been pretty. So, I was already kind of on a bit of an upswing. I was getting to that point, and a lot of my fellow mentally ill ND and chronically ill people will recognize this when I describe it. You know that point where you're looking at this thing you've been putting off and telling yourself, I'll get that started tomorrow? It's usually a lie, but at least I'd started to think like that again. Then YouTube recommended me a video of someone playing Silksong. Yeah, that's how deep under a rock I'd gone during all this. I wasn't even aware Silksong was out until my recommended feed told me. And here's the thing. I love Hollow Knight. I adore that silly little void bug creature. I have since I first played the original, and I have been in the Silksong Wen trenches with everyone else ever since. So, Silksong did something not even Elden Ring's DLC could. It grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and dragged me back into doing something. Maybe that's because Shadow of the Erdtree came out when I was still kind of working on shit, but didn't have the energy for anything else. Maybe it's because I was already beginning to feel better. Personally, I feel like there was just something about the fact that Silksong is something I and so many others waited for so long that spurred me to move. And move I did, let me tell you. Silksong is an amazing game. I'm sure you've heard that before, but I will repeat it. Absolutely Game of the Year, though I have heard there's some stiff competition this year. For me, though, Silksong is the winner. And yes, I am biased, and no, I will not apologize. Yes, it's hard. Yes, there are certain sections that are mildly rage-inducing. Bilewater isn't even that bad compared to the wrath that the Savage Beast Fly inspires in me. Now that is the stuff of legends. Granted, that's probably because I'm in the portion of the population who found the hidden Bilewater bench before I fought Groll the Great. But that's neither here nor there. I got so stuck in and motivated to beat this game that there were times when I had to remind myself to take a break before I injured myself. For those of you who don't know, I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome hypermobile type. Basically, my collagen is fucked and my joints hate me. So, white-knuckling a controller while trying to fight through 10 fucking enemy waves, my god, Team Cherry, who hurt you, can be quite bad, actually. All the joints in all the fingers on my right hand are screaming in unison. Kind of bad. It was worth it, though, and I mostly remembered to take care of myself. I beat the game, and then I beat it again, and then I kept playing even though my save was already at 100%, because I wanted every relic, some cylinder tool, and goddamn memento the game would give me. I started playing Silksong because I love Hollow Knight. I kept playing it because this game made me fall completely in love with its world, its characters, and its story. I won't say much about the true ending of Silksong here, because on the off chance you decided to watch this video and haven't seen it, I don't want to be the one who spoils it for you. But suffice it to say, it made me feel some things. The footage you've been watching here has been a second playthrough I started mostly for this video, because if I entered my main save file, it would just be filled to the brim with spoilers. And also partially because I want to see if I can get the Twisted Child ending. Hornet is an amazing main character. Not just because of how she plays, but because of how much personality she has. Most of the games I love tend to have silent protagonists. Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Legend of Zelda, Hollow Knight. Though even there, Hollow Knight is one of the games that has an in-universe reason why the character you're playing doesn't speak. I also find it very funny how almost every single person I've watched play Silksong is just as taken off guard as I was by Hornet speaking. I don't know why I was surprised. I knew she could talk. Just not used to it from the main character, I guess. It's not just that she talks, though. There are plenty of game protagonists who speak and still manage to have less personality than my left fingernail. And there is a place for that. allowing the player to superimpose themselves over the character and all that. Hornet is not that. She has opinions and preferences. Sometimes very strong opinions and preferences. She likes fluffy things, would like to learn water walking, and confesses to having dreamed of growing wings when she was young. She has recognizably different relationships with the various NPCs you'll find along your journey. She has a character arc within the game itself, and building off of the first game. When you complete the first donation wish for Flick the Fixer in Bone Bottom, and he expresses his thanks, Hornet dismisses the idea that what she did was kind. She rationalizes that helping the bugs of Farloom also nets her rewards, knowledge, and resources she can use to strengthen herself. But later, in Bellheart, once you've helped the town grow a bit, she'll express to Pavo that she'd forgotten how helping others could just make you feel good because you did a good thing. Helping the bugs of Farloom helped this nigh-immortal being who's seen who knows how many friends and lovers die over the years she's been alive feel connected to the world again. And I think that's beautiful. The game also deals with Hornet's regrets over her own past. When you wake the second Sentinel, she'll note that some would argue that standing guard over a kingdom's corpse is a foolish task empty of meaning. Purely by the nature of being the protagonist of this game, Hornet is more proactive in attempting to change the fate of Farloom than she was in Hallownest. And that, too, is a reflection of her growth as a character. She watched her own kingdom fall and stood guard over its ruin, and she refuses to do the same thing again. Honestly, I love her so much. I might actually have to get a Hornet plush at this rate. Then there are the other characters, and my god, Farloom is just so full of life. Don't get me wrong, the NPCs from Hollow Knight are very good, but when you compare Hallownest to Farloom, it becomes very obvious which one of them is the dead kingdom. Farloom isn't dead, it's just suffering from a bad case of bug Catholicism and late-stage capitalism. Lace's arc especially made me emotional, but I won't say too much on that because spoilers. It's not even just the big personalities that move around the map who make an impression. Much like Elderbug in the first game, there are plenty of stationary NPCs who you can still grow quite attached to if you take the time to get to know them. The most impressive thing to me is how almost every single character you speak to in the entire game has a unique voice. I don't mean the little bug language snippets they'll speak. I mean the writing itself. We've got accents and speech quirks aplenty here, and when two characters share similar speech patterns, it's usually because they're related in some fashion. For the most obvious example of this, just look at Tip and Pill, or the 12th Architect and the 2nd Sentinel, or Kroll and Benjin, or the Huntress and Styx. You get it. The story itself is great, and beyond the writing, Team Cherry really pulled out all the stops to show us why Hollow Knight had such good environmental storytelling, by doing it even better in Silksong. The environments of Silksong are alive and changing. Characters will disappear only to show up dead in the background. The fourth chorus lulls you into a false sense of security by not being a boss fight the first time you pass it by. There are so many details in the background of this game that you are going to miss some of them no matter what. For example, the first time I met the alchemist Xylitol, Hornet told him I'd actually found his apprentice dead already, and I just had to take her word for it because I definitely didn't remember that. Even the way Hornet as a playable character interacts with the world relates directly to the overall story of the areas. Most obviously, with rosaries, the main currency of the game. In Hollow Knight, every enemy you defeated would drop Geo. In Silksong, only some of them do. None of the bugs who are just bugs carry them. Because why would they? It's currency. If you smack a mosquito, it's not going to drop a pile of coins in your hand. If you kill a person who just so happens to be possessed by haunted silk, well, that's a different story. Even how many rosaries an enemy drops is relevant, especially in the Underworks. It's an area just beneath the Citadel, the main capital of Farloom. It's choked with ash and dust, and the workers there are underpaid and exploited in the extreme. The benches in the area are all temporary, and you can even pay a confession booth to have it spit back out an automated message about how you're a sinner and have to work to cleanse yourself. Just looking at the area has me feeling like I'm about to have an asthma attack, and the enemies here barely drop any rosaries. It really makes you feel the exploitation of these workers by the Citadel. Then there's the fact that none of the enemies in Bylewater will drop rosaries. Not even the Stilkin, the local sapient bug population. This only further solidifies the firm divide between the Stilkin and the Citadel. Even the Scar, who resisted the Citadel's rule for a long time, now trade in rosaries. For the Stilkin to drop nothing means they've rejected the Citadel so hard they even refuse to participate in trade with anyone vaguely associated with it. I mean, they might barter with outsiders we don't know, but they for sure see no value in rosaries. And why would they? The main source of value behind rosaries polluted their home so badly it became a literal maggot-infested hellhole. They are extremely valid in their hatred here. I won't say much on the gameplay because that's not my area of expertise. I don't know enough to tell you why the game feels so good to master and the bosses so well designed, only that it does. The one thing I will say is that I love the crest system. For all that I eventually kind of settled on Hunter as my main crest, I love that the game gives you tons of different options on how to play. If the default moveset isn't your cup of tea, all you have to do is find a crest that does fit your playstyle. That's probably why the Reaper and Wanderer, the two crests with the most basic down pogo, are some of the earliest in the game, come to think of it. In summary, the characters feel alive, the story isn't just well written, it's also a masterclass in environmental storytelling, the combat is fast, and the movement is satisfying. Because of this game, I feel more awake and motivated than I have in a year. My fingers are even itching to pick Elden Ring back up. Finish up that Frenzied Flame playthrough I dropped right at the finish line and finally play the DLC. I'm still not great. I'm not going to lie about that. But I feel undeniably better. So unless something goes catastrophically wrong, that video that's been sitting in the drafts for a year should actually see the light of day soon. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, consider liking it and maybe subscribing. A massive thank you to the Entmoot, Alice Autumn, and, frankly, any patron or subscriber who decided to stick with me through the radio silence. I cannot thank you enough, honestly. I will be back here on a future Thursday. Bye!